First contact at Galactic Academy. The gleaming spires of the Galactic Academy pierced the purple sky of Xenon Prime, a testament to the greatest minds the universe had to offer. Zara Chen, the first human ever admitted to this prestigious institution, stood at the base of the crystal towers, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As she adjusted the atmosphere regulator on her envirosuit, Zara couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She wasn't just here to learn. She was here to prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars. The doors of the academy swished open, revealing a kaleidoscope of alien life forms. Creatures with tentacles, multiple eyes, and even some composed entirely of swirling gases moved about in organized chaos. Zara took a deep breath and stepped inside. "Attention, students!" A voice boomed through the atrium, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Please proceed to the orientation chamber." Zara followed the crowd, acutely aware of the curious and sometimes wary glances thrown her way. She caught snippets of conversation in languages her universal translator struggled to keep up with. "Is that a Deathworlder? I heard they breathe corrosive gases. My progenitor says they're barely sentient." Zara clenched her fists but kept her face neutral. She'd been prepared for this, but the reality of being seen as a dangerous curiosity still stung. In the orientation chamber, a holographic projection of a being Zara recognized as an Orcsin, a species known for their diplomatic skills, appeared before them. "Welcome, young minds, to the Galactic Academy. You represent the finest intellects from across the known universe. Here, you will push the boundaries of knowledge and forge the future of our galactic community." A hologram's many eyes seemed to focus directly on Zara. "This year, we are honored to welcome our first student from Sol II, known to its inhabitants as Earth. Let this be a testament to our commitment to diversity and the exchange of ideas." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Zara stood a little straighter, chin held high. As the orientation concluded, students were directed to their first classes. Zara consulted her schedule and made her way to Xenobiology 101, taught by Professor Zilks, a renowned Volcran scientist. The laboratory was filled with strange equipment and containment units housing various alien life forms. Zara took a seat near the front, ignoring the wide berth her classmates gave her. Professor Zilks, a being that seemed to be composed of shimmering crystal fragments, floated to the center of the room. "Today," the professor's melodious voice rang out, "we begin with a practical exercise. You will each be assigned a life form to study. Your task is to deduce its planet of origin based on its adaptations." As specimen containers were distributed, Zara noticed her classmates receiving small, docile creatures. When Professor Zilks reached her, however, the container he placed on her desk was significantly larger and reinforced. "For our Terran student," Zilks announced, "a special challenge. This is a juvenile Nexu, a predator known for its ferocity. It's sedated now, but handle with extreme caution." Zara peered into the container. The Nexu was a six-legged feline creature with multiple eyes and razor-sharp quills along its spine. Even in its sedated state, it looked deadly. As her classmates began their analyses, keeping a nervous eye on Zara's specimen, she felt a familiar spark of determination. If they expected her to fail, they were in for a surprise. Zara carefully opened the container, her movements slow and deliberate. The Nexu's eyes flickered open, focusing on her with predatory intensity. The class fell silent, all attention on the human and the deadly creature. To everyone's shock, Zara began to softly whistle a tune. The Nexu's ears perked up, its aggressive stance softening. Slowly, Zara extended her hand, palm up, towards the creature. "Miss Chen." Professor Zilks's voice crackled with alarm. "What do you think you're doing?" Zara didn't break eye contact with the Nexu. "On Earth, we have a saying, Professor. The most dangerous predator is often the most misunderstood." The Nexu sniffed Zara's hand. Then, to the astonishment of all present, it rubbed its head against her palm. emitting a sound remarkably similar to a purr. Fascinating, Zara muttered, examining the creature closely. The multiple eyes suggest a homeworld with low light conditions. The quills are likely a defense against larger predators, indicating a competitive ecosystem. The 6 legs, perhaps a high-gravity environment. She looked up at Professor Zilks, who was frozen in what Zara interpreted as shock. "Am I on the right track, Professor?" The crystalline being vibrated, a sign of agitation or excitement. Zara wasn't sure which. "Ms. Chen, your analysis is correct, but your method is highly unorthodox and dangerous." Zara gently stroked the Nexu, which had curled up contentedly on her desk. "With all due respect, Professor, sometimes the best way to understand a life form is to connect with it. Fear and preconceptions can blind us to the truth." The lab erupted into excited chatter. Some students looked at Zara with newfound respect, others with increased wariness. Professor Zilks's crystal body flickered rapidly, processing this unexpected turn of events. "Well," the professor finally said, "it seems our Terran student has much to teach us about unconventional approaches to xenobiology. Class dismissed, except for you, Ms. Chen. We need to have a discussion about safety protocols and your unique abilities." As her classmates filed out, throwing curious glances over their shoulders, Zara remained seated, the Nexu purring softly beside her. She had come to the Galactic Academy to learn, but it seemed she would be doing some teaching as well. The first day had been full of challenges, but Zara felt a glimmer of hope. She had taken the first step in showing the galaxy that humans were more than just Deathworlders. They were beings capable of empathy, adaptation, and understanding, even in the face of the unknown and the dangerous. As she prepared for her conversation with Professor Zilks, Zara couldn't help but smile. This was just the beginning of her adventure at the Galactic Academy, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did she know, her unconventional approach to the Nexu was about to set in motion a series of events that would challenge the very foundations of galactic society. The Forbidden Friendship. As weeks passed at the Galactic Academy, Zara Chen found herself settling into a routine that was anything but ordinary. Her unorthodox approach to xenobiology had earned her a mixture of respect and wariness from both faculty and fellow students. Professor Zilks, initially alarmed by her handling of the Nexu, had taken a keen interest in her abilities, often assigning her the most challenging specimens to study. One evening, as the triple moons of Xenon Prime cast an eerie glow over the Academy grounds, Zara decided to explore the vast arboretum that housed plant species from across the galaxy. The humid air filled with exotic fragrances as she wandered deeper into the alien forest. Suddenly, a low, pained growl caught her attention. Zara froze, her survival instincts kicking in. Slowly, she turned towards the source of the sound. There, half hidden beneath the phosphorescent fronds of a Venusian trap fern, lay a creature unlike any Zara had encountered before. It was massive, easily twice her size, with a body that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. 6 eyes, glowing faintly red, focused on her with a mixture of pain and defiance. Zara's breath caught in her throat. She recognized this being from her xenobiology textbooks, a void stalker, one of the most feared predators in the known universe. They were supposed to be extinct, hunted to oblivion centuries ago due to the threat they posed to space travel. The void stalker attempted to rise but collapsed with a whimper. Zara noticed a deep gash along its side, oozing the dark, viscous fluid that she assumed was blood. Every instinct told her to run, to alert the Academy security, but something in the creature's eyes held her in place. Pain, fear, intelligence. "You're hurt," Zara whispered, taking a cautious step forward. The void stalker's eyes narrowed, a low growl rumbling from its chest. Zara held up her hands, palms out. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. I want to help." She reached slowly into her pack, pulling out a medkit she always carried for emergencies. The void stalker watched her every move, muscles tensed for attack. With excruciatingly slow movements, Zora approached the injured creature. "This might sting a little," she warned, applying a universal healing gel to the wound. The Void Stalker flinched but didn't attack. As Zara worked, she began to hum softly, an old earth lullaby her grandmother used to sing. To her amazement, the creature seemed to relax, its glowing eyes half closing. "There," Zara said, finishing the makeshift treatment. "That should help. But what are you doing here? You're supposed to be extinct." The Void Stalker made a series of clicks and whistles. To Zara's shock, her universal translator crackled to life. "Hiding. Hunted. Last of kind." Zara's eyes widened. "You can communicate. You're sentient." "Yes. Smart. Misunderstood. Like you, human." A wave of empathy washed over Zora. Here was another being, judged and feared for its nature, just as humans were often seen as dangerous Deathworlders. "I can't leave you here," Zara decided. "The Academy would capture you for study, or worse. Can you move?" The Void Stalker struggled to its feet, leaning against Zara for support. She guided it deeper into the Arboretum, to a secluded grotto she had discovered during her explorations. "You'll be safe here for now," Zara said. "I'll bring you food and check on your wound. But you have to stay hidden. Promise me." The creature nuzzled against her hand. "Promise. Trust you, human Zara." Over the next few weeks, Zara fell into a new routine. By day, she attended classes, excelling in her studies, but always aware of her secret. By night, she would sneak into the Arboretum, bringing synthesized protein packs and fresh bandages for her new friend, whom she had named Shadow. As Shadow's wound healed, Zara learned more about the Void Stalkers. They were not the mindless killers of legend, but a highly intelligent species with a rich culture and advanced technology. Their ability to phase through solid matter, the very thing that made them feared as ship killers, was actually a sophisticated form of dimensional manipulation. "Why were you hunted?" Zara asked one night, as Shadow demonstrated his phasing ability by passing his paw through a rock. "Fear," Shadow replied. "Always fear. Void Stalkers seek knowledge, explore dimensions, but others see only danger." Zara nodded, understanding all too well. Humans face similar prejudice. We're seen as unpredictable, violent. But there's so much more to us. As the days passed, the bond between Zara and Shadow grew stronger. She found herself sharing stories of Earth, of human history and culture. In return, Shadow taught her about the cosmos, sharing knowledge that even the Academy's most advanced courses couldn't match. But keeping such a massive secret was taking its toll. Zara's classmates noticed her distraction, the dark circles under her eyes. Professor Zilks questioned her about her late-night excursions to the Arboretum, clearly suspicious. One evening, as Zara was leaving her quantum physics class, she overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. "I'm telling you, there's something in the Arboretum," a Neptunian student was saying, his tentacles waving excitedly. "Something big. I saw it phasing through trees." "Impossible," his companion, a silicon-based life form, replied. "Nothing can phase through solid matter except, but they're extinct." Zara's heart raced. She had to warn Shadow, had to find a way to protect him. But as she turned to rush to the Arboretum, she found her path blocked by the imposing figure of Archdean Xylos, the Academy's highest authority. "Ms. Chen." The Archdean's voice resonated with power and suspicion. "I believe it's time we had a discussion about your extracurricular activities." Zara's mind raced. How much did they know? What would happen to Shadow if he was discovered? And what consequences would she face for harboring the supposedly extinct, highly dangerous species? As she followed the Archdean to his office, Zara realized that her actions hadn't just put her academic career at risk. They could potentially spark an interstellar incident. The fate of Shadow, her own future, and possibly the delicate balance of galactic politics now hung in the balance. The door to the Archdean's office slid shut behind her with an ominous hiss, and Zara steeled herself for the confrontation to come. Whatever happened, she was determined to protect Shadow and prove that understanding and empathy could bridge even the vastest of differences in the cosmos. Chaos in the Academy. The Archdean's office was a marvel of alien architecture, with walls that seemed to shift and change like living organisms. Zara stood before the imposing desk, her heart pounding as Archdean Xylos fixed her with all 7 of his eyes. "Ms. Chen," Xylos began, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate through Zora's bones. "Your time at the Galactic Academy has been unconventional, to say the least." Zara remained silent, unsure of how much the Archdean knew about Shadow. "Your professors report that you show remarkable aptitude, particularly in xenobiology. However, your methods are often deemed reckless and potentially dangerous." Xylos paused, his eyes narrowing. "And now, we have reports of unusual activity in the Arboretum, activity that coincides with your nocturnal visits." Zara's mind raced, searching for a plausible explanation. But before she could speak, alarms began blaring throughout the Academy. The Archdean's communication device lit up with urgent messages. "Impossible," Xylos muttered, his normally composed demeanor slipping. He turned to Zara, suspicion clear in his gaze. "It seems your extracurricular activities will have to wait, Ms. Chen. We have a security breach in Lecture Hall Alpha." As they rushed from the office, Zara's stomach dropped. Lecture Hall Alpha was where the advanced xenobiology final exam was taking place, and it was dangerously close to Shadow's hiding place in the Arboretum. The scene that greeted them was one of utter chaos. Students of various species were fleeing the lecture hall, their terrified shrieks echoing through the corridors. Professor Zilx's crystalline form was vibrating so rapidly he was almost invisible. A void stalker. Zilx's voice was shrill with panic. It phased right through the walls during the exam. Zara's heart sank. Shadow must have sensed her distress and come looking for her. Now surrounded by unfamiliar beings in a stressful situation, he had panicked. Inside the lecture hall, Shadow's massive form loomed over the remaining students, who were frozen in terror. His 6 eyes darted around wildly, searching for Zora. "Initiate containment protocols," Archdean Xylos ordered. "Activate the phase disruption fields." "No, wait," Zora cried out, but it was too late. Energy fields sprang to life around the lecture hall, designed to prevent matter phasing. Shadow roared in pain and confusion as his natural abilities were suddenly suppressed. Without thinking, Zara sprinted towards the lecture hall entrance. "Zara, stop," Professor Zilx called after her, but she ignored him. As she burst into the room, all eyes, both alien and void stalker, turned to her. "Shadow," she said softly, approaching the cornered creature with her hands raised. "It's okay. I'm here." Shadow's tense posture relaxed slightly at the sight of her. "Zara." His thoughts reached her through the translator. "Danger. Feared for you." "I know, but it's all right now," Zara soothed, acutely aware of the shocked silence around her. "These people won't hurt you. They're just scared because they don't understand." She turned to face her classmates and professors, who were watching the exchange with a mixture of fear and amazement. "Everyone, please stay calm. This is Shadow. He's a friend, and he's intelligent. He won't harm anyone if we don't threaten him." Archdean Xylos stepped forward, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Ms. Chen, you have exactly 1 minute to explain how a supposedly extinct, highly dangerous predator came to be on Academy grounds, and why you're addressing it by name." Zara took a deep breath. "Shadow is the last of the Void Stalkers. I found him injured in the Arboretum weeks ago and nursed him back to health. He's not a mindless beast. He's a sentient being with thoughts, feelings, and a wealth of knowledge about the universe." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Professor Zilx floated closer, his crystalline form shimmering with excitement. "Remarkable. A living void stalker, and one capable of communication. The scientific implications are staggering. The security implications are what concern me, Archdean Xylos countered. This creature's species was hunted to extinction for a reason. Its very presence here puts every student and staff member at risk. Shadow's massive form seemed to shrink under the weight of the accusations. Through their mental link, Zara felt his shame and fear. "He's not a threat," she insisted. "The Void Stalkers were misunderstood. They never meant to harm anyone. Their phase shifting was for exploration, not destruction." A bold Andromedan student stepped forward, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with curiosity. "Is it true that Void Stalkers can traverse dimensions beyond our own?" Shadow's eyes lit up at the question. Through Zara, he began to share knowledge of cosmic phenomena that left even the most advanced students and professors in awe. He spoke of dark matter currents, of parallel universes brushing against our own, of cosmic strings that formed the very fabric of existence. As the impromptu lecture continued, the atmosphere in the room began to shift. Fear gave way to fascination. Students edged closer, emboldened by Zora's calm presence at Shadow's side. But the moment of wonder was shattered by the arrival of Academy security forces, armed with weapons designed to combat phase-shifting entities. "Step away from the Void Stalker," the security chief ordered, his tentacles flexing around his weapon. Zara stood her ground, placing herself between Shadow and the security team. "You don't understand. He's not a threat. He's a refugee, possibly the last of his kind. We can learn so much from him." Archdean Xylos's expression was unreadable. "Ms. Chen, your actions, while arguably noble, have put this entire institution at risk. The galactic community believes Void Stalkers to be extinct for a reason. If word gets out that we're harboring one here, then maybe it's time to change the narrative," Zora argued passionately. "We're supposed to be the leading minds in the galaxy. If we can't look past our fears and preconceptions, how can we call ourselves scientists?" The tension in the room was palpable. Students and faculty looked between Zora, Shadow, and the administration, unsure of what would happen next. The security team's weapons hummed ominously, ready to fire at a moment's notice. It was Shadow who broke the stalemate. Slowly, deliberately, he lowered himself to the ground, making himself as non-threatening as possible. Through Zara, he addressed the room. "I am Shadow, last of the Void Stalkers. I come in peace, seeking understanding. My people were not destroyers, but explorers. We have much to share, much to teach. Please, give us a chance." The sincerity and intelligence in Shadow's words were undeniable. Even Archdean Xylos seemed taken aback. "This is unprecedented," Xylos muttered. "The Galactic Council will need to be informed. There will be inquiries, debates." "Then let there be debates," Zara said firmly. "Let Shadow speak for himself, share his knowledge. Isn't that what the Galactic Academy stands for? The pursuit of knowledge, no matter where it leads us." A long moment of silence followed. Then, slowly, Professor Zilks began to chime, the Volcrin equivalent of applause. One by one, other students and faculty joined in. A cacophony of alien sounds united in support. Archdean Xylos raised his appendages for silence. "It seems, Ms. Chen, that you've started quite the revolution. Very well. The Void Stalker will be placed under observation, but not confined. A full hearing will be held to determine the path forward." As the security team lowered their weapons and the energy fields were deactivated, Zara felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had taken an enormous risk, but in doing so, she might have changed the course of galactic history. Shadow's gratitude flowed through their mental link. "Thank you, Zara," he communicated. "You have given my people a second chance." Zara smiled, patting Shadow's massive flank. "We're just getting started," she replied. "The real challenge lies ahead." As students cautiously approached, eager to learn more about the legendary Void Stalker, Zara knew that her actions would have far-reaching consequences. The galaxy's perception of both Void Stalkers and humans was about to change dramatically. The next few days would be crucial. There would be questions to answer, policies to challenge, and minds to change. But looking at the wonder on her classmates' faces as Shadow began to share his vast knowledge, Zara felt a surge of hope. This was why she had come to the Galactic Academy, not just to learn, but to bridge the gaps between species, to foster understanding where fear once reigned. As she prepared herself for the challenges ahead, Zara knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. Trial by Galactic Council. The news of a living Void Stalker at the Galactic Academy spread across the cosmos faster than a quantum entanglement cascade. Within days, the serene campus had become a hotbed of interstellar politics and media frenzy. Zara found herself at the center of a storm she had never imagined. Journalists from 1,000 worlds clamored for interviews, their questions broadcast in a dizzying array of languages and telepathic frequencies. Security around the academy had been tripled, with ships from various galactic peacekeeping forces maintaining a constant orbit around Sinon Prime. Through it all, Zara stood firm in her conviction. She spent every moment she could with Shadow, helping him prepare for the trial that would determine not only his fate, but potentially the future of interspecies relations across the galaxy. The day of the hearing arrived with all the gravitas of a supernova. The Academy's grand auditorium had been converted into a courtroom, with representatives from the Galactic Council seated in tiered rows that seemed to stretch into infinity. Zara stood beside Shadow, her hand resting reassuringly on his massive flank. They faced the Council, an intimidating assembly of the most powerful beings in the known universe. The Chief Counselor, a Medusan with a head full of writhing tentacles, called the session to order. We are gathered here today to address a matter of grave galactic importance. The emergence of a living Void Stalker challenges centuries of established policy and raises serious security concerns. Zara stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Honored counselors, I stand before you not just as a student of the Galactic Academy, but as a representative of humanity and as a friend to Shadow, the Void Stalker. I ask you to approach this hearing with open minds and to consider the possibility that our understanding of Void Stalkers has been based on fear and misunderstanding rather than fact. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. A quantum collective spokesperson buzzed forward, their form flickering between states of matter. The human's plea for open-mindedness is noted, but cannot outweigh the historical threat posed by Void Stalkers. Their ability to phase through solid matter makes them a clear and present danger to all spacefaring civilizations. If I may, interjected Professor Zilks, his crystalline form glittering under the auditorium lights, my preliminary studies of Shadow have revealed fascinating insights into Void Stalker biology. Their phase-shifting ability is not a weapon, but a highly evolved form of cosmic exploration. The scientific knowledge we stand to gain is immeasurable. The debate raged on, with various council members arguing for everything from immediate termination of Shadow to full protection as an endangered species. Through it all, Zara noticed Shadow growing increasingly agitated. "What's wrong?" she whispered. Shadow's thoughts flooded her mind. Misunderstanding. Fear, like before. Must show truth. Before Zara could react, Shadow stepped forward. The entire auditorium fell silent, many counselors instinctively recoiling. Esteemed beings of the galaxy, Shadow's thoughts boomed through the universal translators, startling many who hadn't realized Void Stalkers were capable of communication. I stand before you not as a threat, but as a seeker of knowledge and understanding. My species has traversed the cosmic web for eons, gathering wisdom from the very fabric of the universe. With that, Shadow began to phase, but instead of passing through solid matter, he seemed to shift into another plane of existence entirely. The air around him shimmered and warped, and suddenly the auditorium was filled with visions of unimaginable cosmic beauty. Counselors gasped as they saw the birth of stars, the dance of galaxies, and dimensions beyond their comprehension. Shadow was showing them the universe as the Void Stalkers saw it, a vast, interconnected web of energy and possibility. We never sought to destroy, Shadow continued, his form shifting through multiple realities. We sought to understand, to explore the infinite possibilities of existence. Our abilities, which you fear, are meant to expand knowledge, not to harm. As the visions faded, the auditorium was left in stunned silence. Zara stepped forward once more. Honored counselors, you've just witnessed the true nature of Void Stalkers. They're not destroyers, but explorers and scientists in their own right. The accident that led to their near extinction was a tragic misunderstanding. We have a chance now to right that wrong and to embrace a new era of cosmic exploration and understanding. The chief counselor's tentacles writhed in what Zara hoped was deep thought. This is unprecedented. We must recess to discuss these revelations. Hours passed as the council deliberated. Zara and Shadow waited, the fate of not just one being, but an entire species hanging in the balance. Finally, the council reconvened. The chief counselor rose, his voice echoing through the auditorium. After much debate, we have reached a decision. The being known as Shadow will be granted protected status, with the Galactic Academy named as custodian. A new research initiative will be established to study Void Stalker abilities and knowledge, with the goal of advancing our understanding of the cosmos. Cheers erupted from the assembled students and faculty. Zara felt tears of relief and joy streaming down her face. But the chief counselor wasn't finished. Furthermore, in light of the courage and open-mindedness demonstrated by Zora Chen, we are establishing a new initiative for interspecies understanding. Ms. Chen will head this program, working to bridge the gaps between different life forms across the galaxy. Zara was stunned. She had come to the Galactic Academy to learn, and now she was being tasked with teaching the galaxy about acceptance and understanding. As the auditorium erupted in celebration, Shadow's gratitude washed over Zara. "You have saved more than just me," he communicated. "You have given hope to all misunderstood beings in the cosmos." Zara smiled, realizing that her journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. She had come to the stars seeking knowledge, and in the process, she had changed the very fabric of galactic society. As reporters swarmed around her and Shadow, clamoring for statements, Zara took a deep breath. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but also prejudices and misunderstandings. Her work was cut out for her, but with friends like Shadow at her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Galactic Academy, and indeed the universe itself, would never be the same. And Zara Chen, once just a curious human from Earth, now stood at the forefront of a new era of cosmic exploration and interspecies harmony. Paradigm shift. 5 years had passed since the landmark decision of the Galactic Council, and the universe had changed in ways few could have predicted. The Galactic Academy, once a bastion of traditional cosmic knowledge, had become the epicenter of a revolution in interspecies understanding and multidimensional research. Zara Chen, now Dr. Chen, stood at the window of her office, overlooking the sprawling campus that had been her home for half a decade. The view had changed dramatically since her first day as a wide-eyed human student. New buildings phased in and out of reality, housing research projects that defied conventional physics. Students of species once thought to be mortal enemies studied side by side, their differences celebrated rather than feared. A soft chime announced a visitor. "Come in," Zara called, turning from the window. Shadow phased through the wall, his massive form now a familiar and welcome sight throughout the academy. "Greetings, Zora." His thoughts resonated warmly in her mind. "The new students have arrived. It's time for the orientation." Zara smiled, remembering her own orientation years ago. "Well, we shouldn't keep them waiting. This batch is supposed to be the most diverse yet." Together, they'd made their way to the grand auditorium. As they entered, Zora couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and amazement. The room was filled with beings from across the galaxy, some from species that had been at war for millennia, others from civilizations that had only recently made first contact. Taking her place at the podium, with Shadow by her side, Zora addressed the assembly. Welcome to the Galactic Academy of Cosmic Exploration and Harmony. Each of you represents not just your species, but a shared hope for a more united and understanding universe. She paused, looking out at the sea of diverse faces, tentacles, photoreceptors, and other sensory organs. 5 years ago, I stood where you are now, a lone human in a vast and sometimes frightening cosmos. I thought I had come here to learn, but I ended up teaching a lesson in understanding that has reshaped our galactic society. Shadow's form shimmered, projecting images of the cosmos that still left Zara in awe. Thanks to the knowledge shared by Shadow and other misunderstood species, we have made leaps in our understanding of the universe. We've charted new dimensions, discovered forms of life we never imagined could exist, and pushed the boundaries of what we thought was possible. The images faded, and Zara continued. But our greatest achievement has been in fostering understanding between species. The Void Stalkers, once feared and hunted, are now our partners in exploring the deepest mysteries of the cosmos. The Nexu, which I once faced as a dangerous creature in my first xenobiology class, are now valued members of our planetary ecology teams. She gestured to the diverse group before her. Each of you comes here with unique perspectives, abilities, and knowledge. Some of you may have been enemies in the past. Others may find your classmates strange or even frightening. But I challenge you to look beyond those initial impressions. The being sitting next to you, no matter how different they may seem, has something valuable to teach you. A ripple of agreement passed through the crowd. Zara saw tentacles intertwining with pincers, bioluminescent patterns synchronizing in shared excitement, and even a young Nexu playfully batting at the gaseous tendril of a Neptunian student. In your time here, Zara continued, you will not only study the wonders of the universe, but also contribute to shaping the future of our galactic society. The challenges we face, from cosmic phenomena we don't yet understand to the lingering prejudices that still divide some of our peoples, can only be overcome by working together. Shadow stepped forward, his thoughts reaching out to the assembled students. As one who was once feared and misunderstood, I welcome you to a new age of exploration and unity. The cosmos is vast and full of wonders, but the greatest wonder is the diversity of life and thought gathered in this room. As the orientation concluded, Zara watched the new students file out, already forming unlikely friendships and engaging in passionate discussions. Professor Zilks, now the head of the Multidimensional Studies Department, floated up to her. Another inspiring speech. Dr. Chen, the crystalline being chimed. Who would have thought 5 years ago that we'd be here? Your little act of kindness towards Shadow has reshaped the very foundations of galactic society. Zara smiled, remembering the frightened, suspicious looks she had received on her first day. We've come a long way, Professor, but there's still so much to do. The galaxy is vast, and there are still beings out there who are misunderstood, feared, or alone. Indeed, Zilks agreed. But thanks to you and Shadow, we now have a model for building bridges across the greatest of divides. The Galactic Harmony Initiative you've established has already prevented 3 interstellar wars and facilitated peaceful first contact with 17 new civilizations. As they talked, a group of students approached, a human, a Void Stalker youngling, a Nexu, and several other species Zara had never seen before. Their eyes, and other sensory organs, shone with curiosity and excitement. Dr. Chen, the human student began, we were wondering if you could tell us more about your first days at the Academy. How did you find the courage to challenge centuries of fear and prejudice? Zara exchanged a glance with Shadow, feeling a wave of nostalgia and pride. Well, she said, it all began with a simple belief that understanding is more powerful than fear, and that even the most unlikely friendships can change the universe. Let me tell you about the day I met a wounded Void Stalker in the Academy Arboretum. As Zara recounted her story to the enthralled students, she felt a profound sense of hope for the future. The galaxy was still full of challenges and mysteries, but with each new mind open to the possibilities of understanding and cooperation, the cosmos became a little brighter. The Galactic Academy stood as a shining beacon of that hope, a place where the boundaries between species, dimensions, and possibilities were constantly being redrawn. And at its heart were Zara and Shadow, the unlikely friends whose bond had started a revolution of understanding that would echo across the stars for generations to come. As the suns of Xenon Prime set, casting a rainbow of colors across the Academy's ever-shifting buildings, Zara knew that their greatest adventures and discoveries still lay ahead. The universe, in all its infinite wonder, was waiting to be explored, understood, and united.